Hello Foxy friends, welcome back to another knitting machine tutorial, and today I'm taking on the one thing when we're all learning the knitting machine that we just despise, and it's working a flat panel. When I first learnt or taught myself how to do this, there was so much troubleshooting and so much problem solving, but I worked it out and I've put all those tips and tricks in this video just for you, so you don't have to stress and swear and all the things that come along with working in a flat panel. These tips will save your life. And this method, this technique is used in my latest knitting machine pattern out now, and it's called Knit O'Clock. Do not the pictures speak for themselves? How awesome is this? When I was in Kmart, I was browsing the stationery aisles, and the craft stuff, and I came across this plywood clock, and just the idea instantly jumped into my brain. And then I filled myself with dread because I thought, oh my goodness, I knew exactly how I needed to make this, and flat panels. Oh, but we get there, it's easy, you'll be a pro after watching this. But can I just give a quick shout out to this amazing yarn? It's hand dyed and it's by Dyeing Dream. Their yarn is actually UV sensitive. So when you put it under a UV light, it changes color. And how sick does this look? Amazing. I've made it in 2 different colors, as you can see, and the effect it has is amazing. So make sure you go and check out Dyeing Dream. I've chucked their shop in the link below. Alrighty, let's get into it and make you a pro at knitting in the flat. A few things before we begin. The Addy machines come with this little doodad here. What is it? Well, it's a stopper. So what you do is you put it on, and when you are knitting, you'll see it stops and helps you turn to go back on for the next row. If you don't have an Addy, what I use instead is just a little sticker, as you can see here. And as I turn the machine, you'll see I have stickers, and it helps me remember where to stop, start, and can be really useful. Make sure that your sticker is a contrast color to the colors of your machine so you can see it easily. To knit a flat panel, or in the flat, the side of your machine will have a switch like this, and you can see here it says plain knitting and circular knitting. We want to make sure that it's on plain knitting, because you'll be able to see here that I can't crank this machine any further than the start of this pin. And when I turn it all the way back around, it stops. Another useful tip when I work with flat panels, I never cast onto these 3 pins, and you'll see why as we start to turn. You're going to need 3-pin turning space. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to be knitting a short panel just to make the process a little bit quicker, but if you are following the Knit O'Clock pattern, make sure that you're casting on the correct number of pins as per the pattern instructions. We're going to skip the first 3 pins because that's our turning space. I've put a sticker here to help me remember in the beginning that this is the edge or the beginning of the panel. You will find that this side where it stops, it's not going to be too much of a problem for you. It'll be the other edge. We cast on as we normally would. Now you can see here, I've got my stopper. Make sure you put a sticker here if you don't have a stopper. Now we want a 3 turning space. So I do not want to cast on to these 3 pins. I'm going to place the yarn feeder in, the yarn in the yarn feeder. If you don't have this, this is what you're looking for. Even if you do, essentially this is what you're looking for. You want to make sure, my sticker has fallen off here. So this is the other edge of my panel. I want to make sure that this yarn has gone under this wall, barrier, nodule, whatever you want to call it. The space between the 2 pins. If I know that that is tucked under there, I can turn. I always like to make sure there's decent tension. If you have a tension guide, that will help. I don't have one on this machine at the moment. So I'm going to start cranking back the other way. Now you can see here, my yarn's gone under the 3rd pin there. I don't want that. The beauty about knitting in the flat is it's kind of easy to undo mistakes. So I'm just going to make sure that's tucked under this pin. It's under here. Now I can turn. Now my machine has stopped. You can see here, this is the edge of my panel. The yarn is under the barrier. I'm going to turn again. Okay, now you can see here it hasn't gone under. I'm just going to move this one more. So for me, it goes under. It's under, I can turn. Now each time you turn, that is 1 row. On the Addy, I find that the row counter only counts 1 way, so you may need a notepad or a manual counter to keep track of how many rows you're knitting. I always, when I'm learning and starting a panel, I just go slow to make sure that I'm catching it under each time. So if you watch here, you can see, keep watching this pin as it goes past this time. I'll go slow. You can see the yarn goes onto the barrier, and as this pin catches it, it slides off and creates that stitch. So you are preventing a drop stitch here. This is where most people get caught up when working in the flat, is that the edge stitches drop and they become loose. So here I'm going to start picking up some speed. It is really handy having this stopper on the Addy. So make sure you still have them if you do have the Addy. Now once you've knitted the same amount of rows, the rows that you need for your pattern, it's time to cast off, and you cast off exactly the same way you would as in the round. It doesn't really matter which end your panel or your machine has ended up on, it's still the same, and you can follow that process by clicking the link up here in the corner. I'll put it on the page or down in the description below if you need to learn how to cast off. Once you cast off, your panel is going to look something like this. You have your your knit side and your purl side. I always stretch it to release or to put the tension back in, and there you have it. That's what it looks like. You might have to block to prevent this this curling, but you can see here that the edges are nice and neat.